All right, so we're on. Çıkabiliyor musun? Dene. Çıktın mı? Okay, I'm the host now. Perfect. So I'm gonna wait for another one more minute for everyone to join, and then we're gonna kick this off. So yes, I think we can kick this off right now, right? So welcome to our webinar. Our webinar is on building a 360 degrees experience to increase customer lifetime value. Today, I have some amazing guest speakers with me who joined me. Thank you so much for your time, guys. And on the other side of the webinar, we have Rebecca Walsh and Pooja Menon from Google. Before I turn the mic over to them, I just wanted to thank all the participants for joining us today in this webinar organized by Desk360, which is a Teknasyon service, a Teknasyon platform. And so we will have around 45 minutes, and this will include some 10 minutes of Q&A today. You can both use the Q&A button so that you can send your questions over to us. We will definitely try to respond to all your questions. And also, please use the chat, and over the chat, please tell us which company you're joining us today from, and share any thoughts and any feedback, anything. And in the end, we will be also distributing a survey, a post-webinar survey, to collect some feedback from you. So thanks all, and I'm gonna kick this off. And before giving some idea about who I am, I wanna turn over to Rebecca. Rebecca, could you please introduce yourself to us?
Of course, thanks so much, Erdem. And I know I can't see everyone, but it's great to be here joining Teknasyon today. I'm Rebecca Walsh, and I'm a I'm an international strategy and sales manager here at Google. I've been at Google for the past 6.5 years, and I've spent most of that time across Google's support or sales organizations. I've been with our international growth team now for the past 2.5 years, and my main focus is supporting our Google's customers on their international expansion journey, and specifically focus on how to deliver an amazing customer experience to their customers in these markets. And I've got Pooja, who's also on the webinar with me here today as well. Pooja, I'll hand it over to you for an intro.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hi, everyone. My name is Pooja, as you can see. I'm a customer experience consultant with Google. I've spent about 10 years here, and all of that has been in some shape or form with customer experience. So back in the day when it started quite plain Jane as customer support, moved over to customer care, and now better known as customer experience. So very excited to be sharing some of our ways of working, our best practices and strategies that we've developed over the last several years in this area with all of you. So very excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. So Erdem here, I'm one of the partners of the B2B side of the business at Teknasyon, one of the largest technology companies, technology startups out of Turkey, who's gone really, really successful and gone global in the past years. And before that, I was an entrepreneur for the first, through the first 10 years of my professional career, actually. Then I had my MBA. After MBA, I joined some pretty amazing startups and tech companies and payment companies. And the last 8 years, I was with Google and then Facebook. And now I'm with Teknasyon, and happy to be part of this amazing team and trying to create some impact for the startups all around the world. And this is who we are. And thank you once again for joining us. And I want to pass it over to Rebecca to give a start.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Erdem. I'd love to just set the scene because I'm sure some of you are wondering, why are Rebecca and Pooja joining Teknasyon today? But just to go back to kind of the origins of our team. So within Google, as I said, our focus is supporting our international growth customers, specifically on their operational challenges such as localization, payments, customer experience, and logistics if they are an e-commerce platform. And our team was set up back in about 2017 when, as Google, we were looking at how we support our customers along this international growth journey, right from providing insights, looking at market opportunity identification, right up until how they actually measure that. And when we looked at all the services and tools that we could offer, what we saw was that across insights, marketing tools, and measurement, that was where we were really strong. But actually, there was a real need for our customers to actually have support across those operational areas. And that's where our team was born out of. And at Google, we call ourselves the Global Business Solutions team. Really, what we do is support our customers by bringing, our experts and our partners to our customers. So, when we looked at these 4 key areas that were coming back in our research, we actually saw that, well, internally within Google, we actually have a lot of knowledge and expertise in these areas. So why don't we bring that to our customers? And that's really what we do. So Pooja is one of the consultants that I work very closely with and that our team works very closely with. So our team is made up of consultants who actually sit down with customers and actually do a lot of one-to-one consultations, a lot of one-to-one work. And then at the same time, we also have a lot of scalable tools and resources that we share. It's all about how do we get our knowledge and expertise out to companies to help them accelerate their international growth. So it was actually back in 2018 that Teknasyon came to us. It was actually the account team in Google, and the challenge was that they were unable to handle their support tickets, and they had inefficient processes set up, and they didn't really know how to go about actually kind of managing this at a global level. And they had a number of products that they had launched, and for me it's just amazing to see the journey that Teknasyon have been on in such a short space of time. And when Erdem came to us about a month ago and let us know that they were launching Desk360, it seemed like the perfect opportunity for us to come and join and talk around what does a 360-degree view on your customer mean. And today we want to look at what are some of the industry trends that we at Google are seeing, what are some of the challenges that companies we're working with are facing at the moment, and how are Teknasyon and also Google really helping companies and also ourselves overcoming that, especially in today's environment. So hopefully it'll be a really engaging discussion. Erdem's going to be mainly hosting us, and Pooja and I will be trying to answer questions as best as possible. But as Erdem said, we would love you to be as interactive as possible, share questions in the chat. It's kind of hard when it is remote like this. Obviously, we'd love to be with you all in person. But yeah, just keep the questions coming and we'll do our best to answer them. But that's over to you, Erdem.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So Pooja, so I want to start with a question actually. So basically, when we started to build Desk360, like a couple of years back, we kind of like try to follow up the trends very, very closely. And today we're noticing a trend around the evolution of customer expectations and the really important role a 360-degree view on customer experience plays in winning and retaining customers, regardless of the industry. And the efforts have been around for longer on this. So you can see companies are internally more optimized to scale and continuously improve their support. So what are you noticing in terms of changing support landscape, and why has this holistic customer experience approach become so important in today's world?
Great question. Erdem, I'm sure this is probably a little bit of a question on everyone that's attending. Customer experience, as the name suggests, just boils down to how customers experience your brand. So it's more than just another buzzword that we've often faced with within our businesses. This actually sits at the heart of everything that a company does. Half of us, and 51% to be very exact, would probably never do business with a company with just one negative experience. And so that in and of itself really speaks about the power of a positive customer experience. Customers have always been king, but in today's environment, that just means a little bit more than good customer service. It means personalization, choice, anticipation. A new breed of customers seem to have arrived, empowered by mobile. Today's consumers can get exactly what they want instantly and quite effortlessly, to be honest. And as a result, they've become very curious, demanding, and impatient, more than certainly ever before. And so for marketers, this means that consumers are pretty much now tougher to reach, but also tougher to please. So a brand's ability to leverage the data and anticipate the needs of the customers is just kind of pivotal if they're looking to grow. At Google, we really go by the principle of focus on the user and all else will follow. And this motto is really at the heart of our products and services that we build out. And of course, it's a learning curve in terms of what focusing on the user really means. But it's a good vision for our company and for the different programs that we run to constantly chase that. And back to that little customers being curious, demanding, and impatient. Consumers are more curious because they can instantly find and easily find information than previously. Than previously they could. They're certainly more impatient because they know exactly how quickly they can get information. It's just a matter of a couple of clicks, isn't it? And they've become demanding, of course, because they now know what they can get and how quickly they can get it. So there's a certain amount of expectation that companies don't just give them the information, but give it to them in a way that feels more personal, feels more intuitive, and really reaches them at the right time versus just kind of a one size fits all.
Yeah, I totally get that. Thank you so much. Rebecca, is there anything you would like to add on to this?
No, just to echo what Pooja said, I think, with companies that we're working with, even when we started back with our program in 2018, we were very much focused on how do we optimize support operations? How do we look internally at what we're doing or what companies are doing? But actually what we've seen is that if you look at your support operations in isolation, actually you're going to leave a lot of pieces behind, and that user journey starts the moment that person lands on your website or that user lands on your website, and being able to track and monitor that, but using that data to then feed into your support operations is absolutely critical, because the consumers, they expect you to know who they are before they even contact you. And that's really how we at Google are looking at our own support strategy, and how do we be preemptive, how can we be proactive, and how can we even obviate the need for support by using the data that we have from users on that site. And so for us, that's just a trend that we're seeing and a focus that we have at Google.
Okay, that's quite interesting. I can see that the attendees are using the chat a lot, and one of the questions there is an interesting one. Maybe it might be the time to touch on that. It's asking, what is the difference between customer experience and customer support? Would you like to share any ideas on that?
Sure, happy to jump in. So it's really quite it's a creative world where we define all these different terms, isn't it? And they sound very similar. The way that we're seeing the industry change in terms of their reaction to these different manifestations of how you support customers is customer support, you know, in and of itself is every interaction that you get to have directly with the customer as a brand. So think about all the phone calls, the chat interactions, the email interactions, everywhere where they would proactively reach out and ask you a question would become a customer support opportunity. And plays very heavily on how you care for your customers and how you provide them the best experience. Customer experience is an elevated form of customer support where it's not just the explicit questions that they might be asking you, but also a lot of these implicit questions, which may never come down to you as customer support tickets, but are, you know, kind of on the customer's mind, while they're navigating your site. So customer experience would be kind of that end-to-end experience of their engagement with your brand, right? From coming to your, you know, your landing page, having a look at it, potentially getting some of their top-level questions answered, moving on to the product page, getting some specific product questions answered, obviating the need for support altogether, and then potentially leveraging the FAQs if and when they were to reach there. And then customer support becomes a part of that. So hopefully that answers your question, but it's a great question and one that we're all still, you know, kind of getting into the details of.
Yeah, I thought it might be a good time to touch on that, you know, like before we dive
yeah,
deep.
if I could just add to that as well, like the way I look at it is customer experience is how you make someone feel about your brand. And for me, customer support is one of the elements of that. And that's how I always try to think of it and position it. Obviously, there's many elements that make up customer experience, and support is a big factor in that. But everything that you do has an impact on how that brand or that user perceives you, and that's customer experience to me.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, guys. And so we also start to receive some questions over our Q&A. Please, I'm asking everyone viewing this webinar, watching this webinar, to send us their questions. We will definitely answer them live here once our conversation flows. So yeah, my next question will be Pia to you. You mentioned that every week you're consulting with multiple global companies, right? So what are some of the challenges these companies face in providing an exceptional customer experience, and how could successful management of customer relationships contribute to a brand building loyalty and increasing customer lifetime value? What do you think?
Yeah, great question. We worked with hundreds of clients, you know, since we've launched our program. And we've really come to realize the customer experience can really make or break your brand's reputation. So it really does have a knock-on consequence on your company bottom line. And hence getting it in a good place is of paramount importance. There's a lot of talk about personalization and customer insight. There are also a couple of questions there that I noticed on chat related to this. And the reason is because it really works. You know, having insights about your customers and knowing how to make that experience more personable to them is just critical currently. And for businesses who want to grow, it's really critical that they understand who their customers are, what they need, and then how best to support them in a tailored customer service approach. Until recently, I think we've all had a very myopic view of customer support, kind of also alludes to the question asked previously, where we might be thinking of customer support as this opportunity with, you know, people sitting with headsets, you know, answering customer tickets. But the honest truth is that customer support is now so much more than that. You know, there's a lot more opportunity, especially if you were to look at the pre-sales funnel on how quickly you can support them, how quickly you can get customers to convert, and then in the long-term view, I suppose, of brand loyalty as well. So really, there's, no matter the size of your business, there's always a good customer experience that needs to be at the heart of how you run things. And I'm sure there's a lot of this happening anyway, but you know, being a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more proactive about what is the customer POV, customer first approach, if I may say so, can be really beneficial, can really pay you dividends as you scale. I see three reasons why companies need to keep investing in their customer service technology as a priority. The first one is its direct impact to increasing sales and revenue. Gone are the days where customer support was considered a distant cousin of your sales organization. the truth is that customer segmentation and treatment are core to building a solid customer experience. If customers know that they can voice their complaints and that their issues would be heard, then they would be more comfortable and trusting in doing business with you. When it comes to brand loyalty, of course, it's far cheaper to keep customers loyal than to acquire new customers. So that's a given in terms of a direct positive impact of great customer engagement. And then lastly, it is certainly a source of competitive advantage. I started this discussion with that 51% quote saying that, half of us would leave if we have a bad experience. And I'd like to echo that, saying that customer service is often the only contact a customer might have with the company. And so it can be a deciding factor for a customer when they make a purchase. And take two chemists, for example, two local chemists selling the same product, potentially the same price. What's going to differentiate them is how they interact with their customers and how they make them feel. So yeah, that's a little bit on that.
That's a great example. I totally agree with that. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And actually, Erdem, I think like in this world of online interactions, I think, interactions between business and customers are just critical to, as Pia said, to sales, to increasing revenue. But I think that sense of personal connection can actually be really hard to forge, but also very easily lost. And I'd actually love to understand, how Teknasyon have tackled this over the last couple of years. I remember back when we first met in 2018, that was a big challenge for you. And I see how far you've come where you've now launched a product. So I would love to get kind of the Teknasyon view on this as well.
Yeah, that's been a journey at Teknasyon, like handling customer support, how to service our end users has been a big thing to tackle. And because we've first, I think I need to share, that would be worth sharing some of our story here. So we started as a company providing services to the telco industry, and then pivoted to app development and app publishing globally. And in really very limited time, we've grown very rapidly. And when we look at the figures of Teknasyon today, we have developed more than 170 applications globally. We're reaching the end users in more than 110 countries. I mean, that's a massive scale for a startup like us. We have, the number of installs that we have achieved is more than 1.5 billion today in total across all our apps. So the monthly active figures are around 240 million. So that means this is a scaled operation, and we need to be able to respond to our customers' needs very instantly, and we need to have the scaled and capable technology that would support that sort of operational management. So this is basically the need that kind of motivated us to come up with a solution like Desk360. We said, hey, we cannot, we need to be really agile, and we need to be fast enough to scale our support, and we need to be continuous in our test and learn efforts. And this is how the idea of Desk360 was born. We said, let's develop our own internal services. And to be very honest, those days we were sitting on a legacy platform, and we just, it just didn't meet our needs. So we basically needed to develop our own solution. And we said, hey, let's develop it our own. Let's first solve our own needs internally, and let's try to scale this thing. And once Desk360 was only some internal services package back then, was basically quite useful. It's become very successful in terms of the business results. We could manage our tickets very efficiently. We could integrate many of the channels that we were communicating through with our end users. And we could have like one single 360-degree view of our end users through this platform. This really helped us a lot. And it really also paved the way for us to focusing on the users like Google does, right? So we first put users first, and then try to understand their needs in any application, in any service that we develop. So this is how it was born. So we basically tackled this huge problem with the help of an internal service that we developed. And then once it turned out to be very successful in generating business results, we kind of generated a software as a service out of that. This is the story of Desk360. So I hope I could answer your question, but this is how we tackled it as Teknasyon. And now we're very happy to market this out globally for our partners, basically. So when you said the story of a startup like us, from a point where we needed to tackle some support or handling tickets and asking about this to a global giant like Google, from there to a service provider where shares proudly a software as a service platform that kind of efficiently manages omni-channel support tickets. It's a story. It's a success story, and we're very proud of that. And thank you so much for supporting throughout the journey, basically. And so my question will be to you there, like similarly, what are the, like what we can learn, what the startups in this call who shown interest in this call, in this webinar, can learn from Google? Like what are the best practices that you could share from how Google supports users, right? Google has a massive scale, have reached billions of users in many of its services. So what can those startups learn from Google? I think that will be the one of the most important questions of this webinar, right? Like what can we all learn from Google in handling customer support?
Of course. Well, it's also the first question that was asked in Q&A, so hopefully that answers that. And, you know, honestly, this is the learning space for Google as well. So we are all constantly learning from each other. There's been a lot of learning we've actually taken back as a part of our program. But let me provide you with, you know, potentially 5 key opportunities and I think best practices that we've noticed that, you know, we could potentially scale, and we've seen them pay us dividends as we, you know, launched additional products and services or expanded to new markets. And we're quite confident this can help others in case they're not doing this already. And the first one's really being able to connect with your customers across multiple channels. And now more than ever, I think, you know, across demographics, across markets, there's a preference on different types of channels. It's not just the you know, the quintessential phone and emails. There's also, in fact, a progression from emails to contact forms to be able to get support much quicker. There's, of course, age-old chat or the more recent chatbot services. And then there's several other messaging systems that can really make this be, you know, quite live in terms of getting support, and really tackles the problem statement earlier about curiosity and demanding nature of some customers. The second one is making your website more intuitive to navigate. You know, I remember back in the day when I was new to Google, and I had asked one of my, you know, one of the VPs, and being like, you know, we do a lot of customer care, you know, questions and a lot of tickets. What's the goal for our program? What's the goal for our team? And his goal was to not have any tickets to do, right? It's quite an ambitious goal, but I don't know, it really just stuck with me for, you know, all these 10 years, really, to be like, well, the purpose is for our for our products and for our systems, our website, to be so intuitive and so informative, but, you know, obviously not too informative, that you don't need to actually have questions. You know, it's just so simple and straightforward. So that's one of my recommendations. That is, you know, don't pressure your customer support team to handle all your customer questions. Use your FAQs, use your content across your landing page, your home page, etc., to really understand those implicit, explicit questions that I meant, you know, that I meant to address before as well. Your guiding rule should really be, you know, how easy is it for customers or for people, potentially at this point, they're not even customers, right? They're viewers, to be, you know, be able to find information that they need in order to complete a purchase. The third piece then is really making sure that the process of checkout is smooth and seamless. So whether that is having a progress bar at the top, clearly displaying your payment methods and not waiting until checkout for that, offering guest checkout wherever possible, and autofilling customer details. I think those are some quick wins that can really help you keep customers engaged through the funnel. The fourth point would potentially be giving shoppers a lot more safer ways to engage with you, right? So offering multiple secure payment options, optimize for different devices, for different regions, tailor your payment methods to each of the markets that you're supporting, and making sure that you're able to provide this checkout experience in a well-bucketed funnel, and keeping your customers informed through the process. And then lastly, really, this is easier said than done, but master the art of customer service. Support interactions really do present an opportunity to influence the entire customer experience. When a customer reaches out, regardless of the channels that they use, a company needs to know who they are, how they interact with the organization, and the reason for their interaction, including if there's ongoing issues, if there are recent issues, and really not treating them as separate, but looking at that as the entire customer, as a persona, and how do you support them. So really coming together. I don't know if that answered, but hopefully that was a couple of pointers that people could take from there.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Thank you so much. And Rebecca, I want to now ask you about Google's tools that startups can leverage, basically. So I know that Google has a number of tools that startups can use to learn how to manage a customer experience efficiently and effectively. Can you please share some more details about these and how our participants in this webinar can access these tools?
Yeah, of course. How many markets did you say that Teknasyon are in, Erdem? Is it 170 markets?
Yeah, more than 110 markets, yeah.
110, wow. That is incredible.
We have tapped really more than 100, it's 113, I guess, in total, yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm so impressed by that. I think, I'm not sure what it was back in 2018 when we first came across, when I first started partnering with you, but that is just massive growth. And I think actually the tool I'd like to focus on and the way we can support is a tool that our team has actually built, because as I said, we're focused on supporting companies on their international growth journey. And really the goal is how can we help companies be in 110 plus markets? And we can't sit down with every company in the world and share one-to-one advice. But what we did realize is that we can actually bring this advice and share our expertise to our online platform. So we launched a tool called Market Finder back in 2018, and it's gone on to have huge success. And where I think it can help everyone on this call is if you're wondering, like, what is the next market that I can enter, or what should my priority markets be? This is a tool that you can actually use to identify, okay, well, here's the top 3 markets. And what this tool does is actually shares, everything from understanding demographics, understanding search queries. So it's kind of like a support to marketers, but then it also goes that step further to say, well, this is how you need to go about localizing your content. Here are some partners that you can work with. When it comes to payment methods, here are the payment methods that you need to use in this market. Similarly for logistics, and it's able to connect you with providers. And then also on the support operations, it's actually Pia here has shared a lot of her expertise through articles, through tools, and it's really interactive. And actually what you can do is build out that journey for yourself and understand what you need to prioritize when you're entering that market, or maybe you're expanding in that market. And it really brings you on a journey based on how we would actually work with our customers. So I'll add a link here into the chat, but I think what you can do is you can go onto the platform, copy in your URL, and it's custom to your categories, to your brand. And so it's really helpful. We're seeing that a lot of companies are actually able to identify what their next market is. And it's really helping in terms of accelerating growth in those markets, or even just market entry, and trying to understand, on the research side of things. I think that can often be the hardest piece. We talk about customer experience, but I think customer experience starts the moment you decide to enter a market, and the moment you decide to sell to users in that market. And that's what Market Finder is really about, helping you understand what are those steps that you need to take, and support being a part of that. But it's the tool I advise everyone to go check out, and see. It's just simply a matter of putting in your URL.
Mm-hmm. Rebecca, have we lost you? Yeah, now you're.
So sorry, everyone. I'm actually based here in Ireland, in Dublin, and the internet connection is terrible. So yeah, I do apologize.
No worries on that. We lost you for a second.
But yeah, I'll ping it into the group here. But that is just, as I said, it's obviously Google has so many tools. I could talk about our tools all day. I think this is definitely the most relevant, and it's really helpful and practical for everyone on the call here, particularly for startups.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Really, really, really helpful. Especially, you know, when you are in a startup, like working for a startup or just trying to build your own business, you really need such support. I mean, I can second on that. That's for sure. Thank you so much, and thanks Google for supporting the ecosystem in general. So we have some questions before we wrap things up here. The first one is, what do you think the companies that have great brand loyalty across the world are doing right? So can we just focus on this question a bit? So Pia, would you like to take that one, if you don't mind?
Absolutely. Yes, it's a great question because brand loyalty is one of those, you know, little areas, Bermuda Triangle, right? What really drives people to come back to a brand? You know, my hunch here is that I would go back at least to a company or a brand if, well, A, I obviously love their product and it's suited for me, but B, if I'm able to develop a relationship. And I know it sounds quite warm and fuzzy, but that is a little something about developing that relationship, because, you know, loyalty by default means that this customer is choosing you over others, not just the first time, but the second, third, and fourth, and fifth time. So there's really something to be said there about what that relationship is and how it's grown. So I think the companies that do really well with keeping customers engaged and coming back for similar products or the same product is they do fill a gap when it comes to what the customers need. And I think that's of primary importance. But then they also are able to understand unique customer mindsets and personas and then support them based off of that. I mentioned previously, if you already know that this customer called you up yesterday because they had an issue with installation and they're calling you today for another issue, typically these customers would always ask them again, you know, you had an issue yesterday, have you sorted that out? Just being able to get that personal connect. We've noticed, contrary to popular belief, it's actually not that customers or that always customers want to speak to real people. They're okay to speak to, you know, either systems or just have a look at the site, but it is the personalization that's more important to them. So it's not the person, but it's the personalization. So I would totally route in that direction.
Cool. Another one is, yeah, what kind of obstacles do companies face in the area of customer experience? I think we've touched this for a few times, but is there anything would you like to add on this? What kind of obstacles do companies face in the area of customer experience? I think in my experience, it's like, so we are also having a lot of conversations with a lot of startups all around the world regarding Desk360. And we see that it is very difficult to find a turnkey solution to customer experience, right? So like, it depends on the nature of the business. I mean, when you speak to an e-commerce platform, the challenges are very different. When you speak to an app developer, the challenges, when you speak to a bank, the challenges are very, very different. Sometimes deal with the customers in 2, 3 focus channels. Some deal with, say, like more than 8, 9, you know, communication channels, and it's really difficult to connect with the customers and have a 360 view of those customers. When we try to listen to them about the challenges in terms of handling customer support, it is very difficult. And the end users, the customers are also getting more and more sophisticated every day, right? So they kind of, they want very instant responses to their needs. And so it is becoming highly challenging from a, say like, I mean, you do not have hours or days to get back to any user need or something like that. I mean, you need to be very fast and very efficient in handling those requests. And also the number of channels. I mean, think about like 10 years ago, Google was the main communication channel, but today there are many others, right? So there are many technological platforms People are using many messaging platforms. They use app reviews to review your services. And it's really, really difficult to tackle those. I think that will be one of the challenges. Is there anything you'd like to add onto this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there, about how do they get to understand their customers and build something for them for the longevity of it, right? And really knowing where to start. And I think that's because we've already started. I don't know if that makes sense, but when we start with our, when we start or when we think about customer experience, we've already done a lot of the heavy lifting before. And so when we're at the heart of the customer experience problem statement, we've actually come quite further along than we should have, because at the time we were obviously there were different motivations to get things into place. And very often we try to make our customer expectations match our product and match our realities, how we're internally structured or, how we do business internally. So many times we hope that customers can get used to that way of working. But the truth is that it's a little bit of the other way around, where the businesses need to understand what do customers want. And one of my classic examples is, it happens to me still very often where, I would have a question and I would get an answer. And if I had a follow-up question, I would get the person respond to me saying, oh, that's a different department. Do you mind going and putting your ticket through this format? Instead of really having this kind of, one company approach, at Google, we call it the one Google approach, where we also realize that we have multiple touch points across different product journeys and experiences. And what we try to do is, instead of routing our customers to different areas, we try to have a way that we can just internally fix our, a little bit of our challenges and being a big company, but we don't necessarily show that to our customers. And so I think that is really critical of thinking from the customer lens versus all the amazing, heads that we wear at work, but, not forgetting that we're also customers. Rebecca, what do you have anything to add there?
No, I just completely agree. I think it goes back to that piece around focusing on the user and everything else will happen. It was actually Larry Page who I think set that out at the start when Google was first formed. And to this day, that's something that we focus on. It's something that, when we're speaking with companies, we try to go back to that piece around, okay, you've come to us with your problem statement, but what's the user problem statement here? And then how do we help you solve those? So I think, when you are mapping out your own problem statement for customer experience, take your own company hat off and put your customer hat on, as Pooja said, and see, is it different? Are you seeing similarities or differences? And at the end of the day, we've all got company challenges that we need to solve, but we're not going to be able to fix those unless we really focus on fixing the customer challenges first. And I think that's what you covered there as well. Yeah.
Rebecca, in the meantime, I think you've also shared the link to Market Finder, a Google tool that will help the startups. And please, everyone in this call, in this webinar, if you could look into the chat, you're going to see the link to the Market Finder tool by Google. So that's amazing. Thank you so much. There's one last question to answer before we wrap things up from back. I mean, he asked, what do you ask a customer to be satisfied? Is it clear for you guys? Would you like to take this question? Or
does that mean in terms of how do we actually measure customer satisfaction?
I think that is the question. Yeah, that's also how I understand. Yeah.
Pooja, do you want to touch on that? I feel like this is your area.
Sure. Yeah. So customer satisfaction, right? It's a great question. So customer satisfaction is typically a very pointed question towards a customer that has interacted with you and is now being asked to provide feedback on that interaction. So it would typically be at the end of a customer support interaction. Now, whether that is phone, if it is phone, do make it brief. Nobody wants to be on the phone dialing different numbers. It could also be in the form of a CSAT survey. CSAT is customer satisfaction, basically it's short for that, or in the form of chat. And I'm sure, we've all been customers there as well. So every time we do some of these interactions, we get asked, how was your interaction with this customer support agent? What we've seen typically work very well for Google is kind of having a hybrid questionnaire where you're also able to, you're obviously able to ask questions about the the support interaction overall, right? Whether it supported the customers, whether they got their answers resolved, but then also to get a little bit of good feedback for your customer support team. So that becomes very targeted at, the person that you were speaking to. Did they seem knowledgeable? Were they friendly? We did some recent surveys here, maybe a year or so ago, where we realized that, some of these industries are very competitive. Everyone wants everything. So whether that is getting to talk to a knowledgeable person, a friendly person, very quickly getting support. So these would be typically areas that impact customer satisfaction and even customer experience. And so having these as explicit questions without going too deep into that, you do have them, but you don't want to ask them all your questions. So just prioritizing some of these could be a great way to benchmark where you're at. Depending on industries, you would be able to search where you should be at. And then potentially someone on your team can run a little bit of a root cause analysis every other week to just understand, well, if CSAT is about 70% or 60%, what's really driving 40% of your users that fill up the survey after a support interaction to not be happy? They could be neutral or dissatisfied. So that's a nice way to just kind of go back into your system and identify, was this, a little bit on the training side? Was it a little bit of an agent error? Was it a process error? Was it a product error, right? And then you can take that great feedback right from the horse's mouth to different compartments within your company to really, over time, increase your CSAT to be higher.
Thank you so much. So I've noticed a couple questions about Desk360. We will be very happy to respond to these questions as well right after this webinar. We will do that. I'm talking to Sonia Chiva and Yamur Chuhadar, so that our teams will definitely get in touch with you and let you know about our service, how Desk360 works, what are the advantages. Basically, we have built a cutting-edge multi-channel customer support platform that brings in a lot of advantages to the startups, to any any company who is handling user or customer support, basically. So this is truly global solution. And what the participants can do today is please send an email to info@desk360.com so that our teams can arrange a very quick demo session for you at your convenience, so we can tell you more about Desk360 and give you a demo, basically, and so that you can try it out. So that was it for today. Thank you so much. I mean, we found it super useful for us, and really appreciate your time, dear Rebecca and Pia. And I hope all the participants found this really useful. And I've also pinged the email of Desk360 info@desk360.com over the chat box. And you can also find the link to Google's Market Finder tool by Rebecca, shared by Rebecca Walsh, on the chat box as well. And please feel free to reach out to us with any questions about customer experience, customer support, how Google handles that, how Teknasyon helps other startups globally. And also this webinar is being recorded. So this is going to be shared with all the participants, or the ones who could not attend today but shown interest. We will definitely make sure that they will have access to this recording. Rebecca, Pia, are there any final remarks by your sides before we close this down?
No, I just want to say thanks so much for having us and for inviting us on, Erdem. It's been an absolute pleasure, and looking forward to continuing our work with Teknasyon. And I think excited for the next 2 years. If if we look back at what's happened in the past 2, I think it's a very exciting future ahead.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, big +1. Who would have known that this is how our engagement would have been back from 2018? So really, you guys have no limits. So good luck for everything, and also to all the wonderful people that joined this discussion. It was really great to be able to learn more about what else is happening out there. So thanks for keeping us engaged.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Have a great week ahead.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to us. Thank you.